Duran Premium Cigars, one of the fastest growing boutique cigar companies, providing smokers a portal into the old Cuban tradition of perfect balance and the lost art of progressive flavor construction. Roberto Pelayo Duran began his career in tobacco over 2 decades ago in Havana, where his reputation grew within Cuban circles. The creation of Duran Premium Cigars has given Roberto the platform to introduce a series of cigars that offer the same quality, construction, and detail which he perfected while in Cuba. Brands include the ultra-premium Roberto P. Duran Premium Cigar Series, Azan Cigars, Nea, and Baracoa. Duran Cigars uses a seed-to-humidor approach, as all tobacco is grown on their farms and rolled in their factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. Rollers have been carefully chosen to carry out Roberto's precise method to ensure progressive flavor in each cigar. Duran Cigars invites you to make their premium your standard. Experience the world through the eyes of an icon with the new Macanudo Inspirado line. Created for a global palate, Macanudo Inspirado defies convention. Handcrafted with the world's finest tobaccos, Inspirado delivers a unique international smoking experience. Find Inspirado Orange at fine tobaccos everywhere, and Inspirado Black online and in your favorite catalogs. Ready to be inspired? Check out Macanudo Inspirado now at macanudo.com. CAO has brought you iconic cigars over the years. Brasilia, Italia, La Traviata, done in a playful nature with a unique twist. Travel to the exciting world of CAO and back in just under an hour with any of the groundbreaking CAO World Blends. Test the boundaries of style with new age brands in the 95 rated Flathead. Honor the past with new classics like Pilon. Treat your palate to an array of flavors with Soulfire and Moon Trance. At CAO, the experiences are limitless. So what's your next move?
Hey, Paul, what's up?
What's up, Mark?
Did you hear about the new cigar that's coming out?
Which one is that? There's like 800 new ones every week.
The one with the Connecticut broadleaf wrapper.
Oh, really? I love Connecticut broadleaf. Who makes it?
I think it's Nicaraguan.
So Nicaraguan binder and filler, or it's made in a factory in Nicaragua?
I always have to Google these, and it's taking me like an hour to find out what it is.
If this is a frequent conversation with your cigar buddies, look no further than Stogie Geeks News, the only cigar news podcast on the internet. Will Cooper, the man behind cigar-coop.com, and Paul Asadorian from the Stogie Geeks produce a weekly show covering the latest cigar news, new blends, cigar manufacturer announcements, and more. Subscribe to the video version on YouTube or get the audio version in your favorite podcast catcher. Head on over to stogienews.tv to subscribe today.
Saga Cigars, makers of the Saga Golden Age. The Golden Age is a cigar that takes you back to the classic days of cigar smoking. Through the 6 generations of experience by the Reyes family, the Saga Golden Age delivers a timeless blend that uses the nobility of the tobacco to bring you the perfect balance of power and flavor. It narrates better than words the history of a family's tradition in tobacco, delivering a cigar much like the ones they used to smoke in the times of Hemingway. Saga Golden Age is a full-bodied, full-flavored Dominican Puro. With tobaccos from one farm, the blend features a Corojo 2006 wrapper and filler from original Cuban seeds grown in the Dominican Republic. Available in 4 sizes at an affordable price, the Saga Golden Age is sure to please and take you back on a journey to yesteryear. Brought to you by Rocky Patel Premium Cigars. The era of elegance continues as they celebrate 20 years of creating iconic cigars, delivering nothing short of magnificent. The Rocky Patel 20th Anniversary Cigar line follows the lineage of the Rocky Patel Decade and 15th Anniversary. 4 years in the making, it's a masterfully crafted cigar. The blend combines fillers from Esteli and Jalapa, Nicaragua, as well as Yamastran, Honduras. Encompassed in an elegant Honduran wrapper, this box-pressed beauty is soon to be legendary. The Rocky Patel 20th Anniversary, the era of elegance continues. For more information, visit them on the web at rockypatel.com and be sure to follow Rocky Patel Premium Cigars on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Paying homage to the Mecca of tobacco, Pinar del Rio, Cuba, Abe Flores opened his PDR cigar factory in the Dominican Republic over 10 years ago. Abe is one of the hottest boutique cigar makers in the industry today, earning the number 10 spot on Cigar Aficionado's Top 25 Cigars of 2014 with the Abe Flores 1975 Serie Privada. Abe and his team use Cuban blending traditions in a modern boutique Dominican factory. Smoke PDR cigars and cut, light, and taste what they love to do. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode 200 extravaganza. I'm, of course, your host, Paul Asadorian. On the lines via Skype is Mr. Will Cooper. Welcome, Will.
Hey, Paul. I can't believe it's 200. It seemed like 100 was yesterday.
It's a great milestone
Yeah.
for the show. And to help us celebrate that, I have here in studio two fine folks from PDR Cigars. Mr. Abe Flores himself is here, sitting next to me. Welcome, Abe.
Thank you very much, my friend.
Making his third appearance on the show is Brian Vroman. They get it? I got it. I got it right. It's awesome.
Third
It's
time's the
awesome.
charm.
That's it. Welcome, Brian. It's always
Thank
nice to have you in studio. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to fill the studio with smoke. I'm happy that I have two additional people here in studio smoking with me. It's awesome. Now, Abe, this being your first time on the show, we'd like to ask you how you got your start in the cigar industry, because as you said before, you said you had a technology background, and right before we started recording here, you were admiring my rack. No, that's an inside joke.
Yes, I was admiring your rack, and it was pretty nice.
Yeah.
The thing is, before I launched PDR, I was a graphic designer, and I build websites. So I went to school for MIS, and I worked for companies like Digitas and build Ditech.com and GM.com, and when there was this .com boom, and doing cookie taggings and developing actually the algorithms to be able to track you on the web.
So late 90s, early 2000s?
Yes. Early 2000s.
In the boom, yeah.
Yeah, right in the cuff. And then the company I was working for, they something happened. We were in Connecticut, and then they got sold to a company called Digitas. They were called Moto Media. And they got sold to a company called Digitas, and then Digitas decided to...
That consolidation of the boom, right?
It was like and moved us all to like California, and all Google started drawing people over there. And I was like, what? Sorry to say, but I'm from... I'm from the Dominican Republic. I need to be near the water, So it's like, and I.
Were you in Northern California? Is that where they relocated you to?
They wanted to send me to like Northern California, like Silicon Valley. I'm just like,
that's a different lifestyle out there, dude. Yeah, it's different. Yeah,
it's just different. It's not me. I went to school in Massachusetts, and
what school did you go to in Massachusetts?
I went to high school in Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I went to Merrimack College.
Okay.
In Andover, Mass.
Yeah.
So I tried BC. I didn't like BC, and I had a girlfriend in Merrimack, and I transferred over there. Where I really wanted to go was Berklee College of Music.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I did a couple summer programs right before, and then I don't know.
So you have a music background, obviously, as well?
Yes, I play bass, guitar,
Nice.
and that's the reason I was telling you, like all that audio equipment you had. I mean, I did engineering and sound recording and did a lot of things on the side. So and now I went to school out there and went to work in New York and different places, and I always wanted to be in the cigar industry. I helped a lot of my cousin who used to sell cigars on the side, bringing cigars up from the DR, and that's how I used to make extra cash. That's how I used to buy my guitars. To be honest with you.
So you buy wholesale from your cousin and then sell retail to like your friends.
Well, that's the thing is like it was during a time when you saw people like Arnold Schwarzenegger and everybody smoking cigars. So
it was kind of a boom for cigars at that time too. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I think the two kind of went hand in hand.
It was like it was all hand. There was too much money. It was excess.
Exactly.
I mean, shit. 2-3 guys get together. We had some tech background. I was like, hey, let's build a website. Oh, in a week was IPO. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like,
it was crazy.
How the hell they got $2 million? There's just two doors in the freaking basement, and they got $2 million
and no customers,
and
no product,
no customer, no nothing. And they got $2 million. I'm like, how the hell?
You don't see that. I mean, you do see that every once in a while now, but it's not.
No, it was crazy. Like 128 Massachusetts was insane.
Oh yeah,
was insane. I mean, shit. I mean, I could have worked at Monster.com, and whenever it came out, I was like, I'm not working for that stupid thing. Who's gonna post resumes? And I should have gone over there. To be honest. You know. And
believe me, I have got some stories like that too.
No.
Well, there was a company that had come to my university where I was working, and it was the founders of the company, and they gave their pitch to us because they were friends with my manager, the VP at the time. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, you seem like interesting guys. I'm like, that's pretty cool if it actually works. You know what company it is today? Palo Alto. Yeah. They're like one of the, for those that don't know, like one of the largest security companies in the world now.
That's what I'm saying. You're like, I could have worked for it.
It was my checkbook, damn it. Like whatever I had, I would give them.
No, there's nothing. I got a couple, so when I was working at Digitas, so I got a couple of friends of mine who were like system admins, hardcore engineers, you know? And one of them was working for right where, you know, when iPhone came out and they started doing apps, like whatever. So my friends, like, that whole industry kind of dropped a little bit, and there were a lot of guys in the street. They couldn't make money. You know, the salaries went too crazy, and then too many people got into technology, and
investors got burned out really fast from the app thing. They were like, "Don't pitch me in another app.
Don't pitch me in another app." So one of my friends was like, you know, I was working doing the cigar stuff, and he goes, he sends me a message on Honor. He's like, "Hey, you know, I'm working for this company. We're looking for investors. We're selling shares for this app." I'm like, "Dude, don't talk me up." No. Don't talk to me about app. Like, right? Didn't say anything. Guess what it was? Uber.
Was it Uber?
Yeah. I was like,
well, Mark Cuban says he didn't invest in Uber. He's like, "Oh, you'll never fight the taxi companies or something like that."
I was like, "Oh, tell me what it is." Oh, you know, imagine like, you know, on your phone, you know, whenever you want, you can like click something, you see, and you get people to like pick you up. I'm like, so a total stranger's just gonna pick me up? Like, yeah. So anybody could do this. Yeah. And like, you know, it's like you pay them for a ride, and it's a lot cheaper, and it's like, you know, and they get paid to drive you, and you pay them through your. So I'm gonna put my credit card on my phone. So you crazy, man? Like, you crazy talk. I'm not putting, like, you know, I was like, that's when. Remember, like, a lot of people were getting like their identity. There was a big boom of people getting their information.
Identity theft was big.
Theft.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You crazy? I'm gonna put my credit card on my phone, and you're gonna have it, and then I can have the total street." No, hell no. Like, no way, man. No, that shit. That's not gonna fly. Uber. Like,
but that's encouraging to, like, I have a startup in computer security, and it's even encouraging in the cigar and just any industry you're in to take what seems like a crazy idea at the time. Like, you never know. You know, some of them go south real fast, but other ones, you know, do really well.
It's like cigars.
I mean, don't be afraid to come out with a new crazy blend or a new crazy cigar. I mean, you never know if it's going to take off or not unless you try. So
you never know. I mean, you gotta. The thing is, you know, I love music, I love technology, but you know, and going back to where my story is. When I was little, I grew up in a part of the Dominican Republic called Bonao, and that's where the Opus X farm is. And my grandfather, who died 104 years old, smoking all his life and drinking all his life, we grew tobacco and coffee. So I drank coffee and tobacco. I mean, I smoked, I think the first time I was like 8 years old. You know, they gave me, "Here, smoke this." Passed out. You know what I mean? I had it in my blood. So. And I always wanted to, like, go back. You know, when you're working in software, you're working, like, you know, friggin' 7 o'clock to, like, 10 o'clock at night, 7 days a week, and all these, like, startups, and you're just tired, you know?
Well, and it's a very, computers and so very virtual kind of thing. Tobacco is so much more
it's more social,
and social,
and, like, and everybody was like, "Yeah, you're Dominican." Like, yeah, you can give me cigars. Like, yeah, sure. Boom. And I was, like, you know, making a little cash. And I was looking around. I was like, I really want to go and I want to try this. I want to go back, and my family, you know, stopped growing tobacco and stuff, and I called a cigar company in the DR. So who's the biggest one, and who's the one that all Dominicans talk about? La Aurora. So I called one day, you know, "Hey, you know, I'm Abe Flores. I'm Dominican, and I studied in a gringo college, you know, and I made, you know, it was a private school, and you know, I'm MIS marketing. You know, I can come in. I want to learn how to make, you know, tobacco. You know, I want to help you guys out. You know, how much you pay?" He's like, "Oh, okay, well." And he goes, "All right, that's like 10,000 pesos." I was like, "Yeah, whoa, 10,000 pesos." Like, yeah. And I was like, "How much is that in dollars?" $150 a month. I'm like, and I go,
That's like a third of my hourly rate that I get now.
That's like, yeah, I can get back to you. Boom. And I hanged up. I was like, okay, I forget about that. So
Forget about the cigar thing. That's it.
forget about it. So I kept on waiting. And then once that happened where they had to move, they closed that division. And it was like a lot of weird stuff, like GM was going bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And GM's contract with us was $3 million a year just to do what Google does for free now. It's pretty.
I hear
fun.
stories like that a lot.
It's like we were charging $3 million a year for what Google does for free now. I'm just like, hey, great, but we did it, you know.
Yep.
So GM, United, and all these companies like just started going down, and Delta, they went bankrupt. Everybody went bankrupt during that time. So we lost all these contracts. And like, well, we want to move this division to California. You can go, or you just give me my package, and then I'm going to see what I can find. So one day I was just typing around, going Monster, and then.
How ironic.
Yeah. I should have worked out. I should have gone. Another one that I should have gone and worked. I could have gone in some stock options, and I didn't want to go there. But I was looking around, and then one day, like this company was like cigar retailer looking to relaunch a site, and they needed somebody with some sort of tobacco background, know how to speak Spanish, and know how to build some websites.
Perfect.
It was in Pennsylvania. I was like, well, I live in Connecticut. I don't mind moving. I'm not from Connecticut now. I was living in Norwalk, and I go, let me go for the interview. So the guy goes to me, he goes, you speak Spanish? He's like, I was español perfecto, yo soy dominicano. I go, oh, he's Dominican. You know tobacco? Like, my grandfather is, my family been growing tobacco for almost 80 years. It's like, I can tell you anything about growing tobacco. He's like, okay. You know how to build websites? Like, yeah, this is the sites I helped build. You know, Ditech, GM. I did all the back-end programming for this ad serving. And he goes, all right, you hire. How much? He goes, right. What's your salary? And I wrote my salary.
On a piece of paper?
Piece of paper.
Yeah, I thought you saw that in the movies.
And he goes, okay. I was like, damn.
You always wish you wrote a higher number, right?
I was like,
anytime they don't like cringe or hesitate, you're like, I should have wrote a bigger number.
You know? And I'm like, you crazy. So I'm like, Jesus Christ. And that literally what happened. And that company was Tinderbox. And the company, I worked for them.
No, Will, I've heard you talk about Tinderbox before.
They're a franchise.
Okay.
They're franchises, so they're
gotcha.
independently owned and operated.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they're
Because you talk about Tinderbox in North Carolina, right, Will?
Yep. That's Craig Cass's store in Charlotte. Yep.
Tinderbox used to be. They were the first. They've been around for a long time.
Yep.
And actually, Danny Blumenthal and that family owned the Villazon factory one time. Villazon factory is the general factory in Honduras. So they owned Punch, Joya de Monterrey. They were one of the, back in the day, they had a lot of money. So they bought this franchise called Tinderbox. And it got up to like 380 people, 80 franchises. So they sold, men's, shaving, men's luxury stuff, and cigars. So it was a place to go for, if you were a gentleman and whatever, to hang out, old boys club type of stuff, So people at that time, now it's totally different now, but in that time, that's what it was. It was people, pipe tobacco. They loved pipe tobacco. Guys who really were into pipes because their founder was more of a pipe guy. So
were pipes more popular in the past than they are now? Because I don't see pipes as popular now.
Well, the reason why it's called Tinderbox because that's how they called the pipe box, the Tinderbox. So the founder itself, I can't remember the whole story, but the founder was if you go, the original shop is in San Francisco, I think, and it's still there, and it's like that's where it started. So it became a really very huge franchise. They could have been like the Burger King, the McDonald's of the cigar industry. I mean, they could have dominated. They had their own trade shows. They had their own. I mean, they had when we did stuff because I was running the wholesale division. Like I ran all. They had their own private label like tobaccos and pipes and line extensions made by Altadis and General and everybody else. And I fulfilled to all the Tinderboxes. we will do a show at IPCPR, or at the time was our TDA, and we had our own private room. You know, when all the Tinderbox owners were franchisees would show up, I would have to negotiate with, like, literally I would sit down with the presidents of every company. You know, at the time it was like Daniel Nunez and you know, for Alta this was Jim Colucci and stuff like that, and they'll sit down and like, well, we want to offer this and this for, you know, and then I was with, like, you know, under these guys for Tinderbox, and, like, you know, the guy who was running it, Wayne Bass and somebody else, they negotiated, and I had help them present it to the other Tinderboxes and stuff like that.
So they were buying for the whole franchise?
No, they'll get deals for all the franchises back then.
They get a pricing for the
back then. But then it changed. Like, then eventually there's retail shops. The shops decided they started buying directly, and they stopped doing their own thing. And
I gotcha.
And it evolved to more like the shops just could buy directly to, you know, with General Cigar and everybody else. But it was just a way for people who had no understanding how to set up a shop. Because back in the day, it was hard to, you had to, when you wanted to set up an account with, like, let's say General Cigar, you had to buy in, you had to bring in 30 facings. What, you don't want me in 30 facings? Well, I don't want you. You know, you can't have our account. Well, you can't have a Macanudo? No, you got to bring in X amount of facings. So you had to earn it to get stuff. So by doing Tinderbox, they'll train you on what to buy. They'll train you all this other stuff, and what tobaccos, what pipe tobaccos you should have, what pipes. They taught a person how to be a tobacconist. Then it evolved, and now it's not the same thing. So I worked for them, learned a lot, traveled, it opened my doors to all the manufacturers. I built the site, ran the company, that division of it, me and another person, and we grew it and we fulfilled, and we were selling online also. And that's where we were just trying to grow that to that point. And one day, just it came to a point where me and the owners just didn't see eye to eye, and it was coming to a point in my life where I was like, well, you know, I learned a lot. I made a lot of private labels. I think I'm good at it. You know, so
you're actually blending some cigars.
Yeah, I was blending. I made my own private labels. I was coming in, they were showing me stuff, how they do this, how they do that, and I was sitting down and I rolled my own cigars. I learned how to roll cigars. I did all this stuff myself. I mean, you're Dominican. You're gonna pick it up, you know. So it's like, you know, being Dominican.
Is that the trick to rolling? You have to be Dominican.
No, well, for me, it was easy.
Is that why Will can't do it?
Exactly.
Well, you know, I'm sorry to say, but but it came natural for me,
right?
And just kind of I just said, you know what, I'm 29 years old. If I don't do it now, I'm never gonna do it ever. I started with my friend Juan and his brothers had a little factory with like 4 rollers in Tamboril. And Juan Rodriguez and his brothers have a shop still called Don Lienzo in Canal Street. And
I remember that place.
Yeah.
We were there, in New Orleans.
In New Orleans.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, in New Orleans. They still have it. And, you know, they still have it. And they came to me, actually. They were the ones that pitched it to me and go say, you know, Abe, you know, we're not that smart, you know, not like that, but they're just like, yeah, you went to American college and and you know what to do, and we got this and we'll help out with this and let's partner up. And I go, okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, okay, and I did it, and I came down and I started working and started saying, well, you're doing this wrong, and nobody's looking to this type of grassy taste people want. And that's when, like, Nicaraguan flavor cigar, Nicaraguan started, like, coming out, peping, and it's like, this is what they want. They want Nicaraguan. They want tobacco with spice and aroma and not bland, but something that's going to wake up their palate. And they're like, oh, okay. And that's when I started, working with it. And that's when I started going to, like, different farms in the DR that had Cuban seed tobacco, and that's when I met this guy named Leo Reyes. And Leo Reyes, he's a grower in the DR, and he'll bring a lot of seeds from Cuba, and all the seeds were from Pinar del Rio. And I go, Leo, where did this seed come out? Pinar del Rio. And he's like, where does this Corojo comes from? Pinar del Rio. Well, this came from Pinar del Rio. And he goes, oh. And he's like, shit, that's a good name. You know what I'm saying? It was like, and I was like, let me check real quick. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, Pinar del Rio. Trademarked it. And then I go, and that first blend I did was 100% all Dominican, but it was all Cuban seed from Pinar del Rio. And that's how I launched Pinar del Rio. And now, eventually, we became PDR.
And so you, at that point, when did you start? You have your own factory. You have your own factory today. So how did that progression happen?
The way it worked in the beginning, I was not sure. Like, I was still building sites on the side to bring in money. I mean, I was charging like $50, $60, $70 an hour just to build sites and shopping carts and, graphic design. And I started doing packaging design and designing bands and stuff for some money. And then I kind of just, we launched Pinar del Rio, and then I was not 100% in it. I'm not going to lie to you. Was not. I was just more like I wasn't sure it was going to work out.
Right.
So I'll come down, do the blends, do the packaging, sell it, and I was the one who's moving it. So I got like a share of the sales. Eventually, the factory was theirs, was the Rodriguez. They owned the factory 100%. And then one day I just got really frustrated with them, and I said, you know what? If I don't, you just can't put in one foot. You got to go either all the way or all the way out. And one day I looked at it and was like, I want to be partners, 100. I want to be a good shareholder of the company, and I'm going to run it. I was like, what? I was like, I'm going to run it 100%. And it's my way or the highway. And then they go, okay. So it was like, all right. So
you kind of come to those crossroads. Like, this could go either way.
Either you let me do it, or
right.
I'm going to leave right now.
Right.
And in that time, it's like everybody knew me. People knew who I was. People, people trusted me, and I wasn't. My blends weren't so great, but people were buying. People were respecting what I was doing. So I did it, and then that's when I did PDR, PDR 1878, and it was in New Orleans, that show, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to redo the whole thing, make it really simple. I'm going to do Arapiraca, all Nicaraguan Dominican Creole 98. I want to be a spice bomb and at a good price in a simple box with a straight band. A retail of $5. Back then nobody was doing that with a premium, So they came in, boom, sold 100,000 cigars. And I was like, well, it worked. And then and then we started going from one little factory to another factory, another factory, another factory. We moved in 3 years, we moved 5 times.
Wow.
And then eventually we said, all right, I got to get into a free trade zone. I got to get bigger. And that's when my friend Hochi came on board. Helped me out. Hochi Blanco, who's one of the biggest growers in the Dominican Republic, came in and said, hey, I got a building. You want it? You can come in there, do it the way you want. I walked in and looked at it. It was like, yeah. And I painted it blue. The whole thing is blue.
Why blue?
It's my favorite color.
That's a good reason.
And I painted it blue, and we came in and we had a little section. We started with 30 pairs, and now we got 78 pairs, and we have 400 something people.
So how do you maintain your quality standards as you've grown like that? Like, obviously, if you roll all the cigars yourself, the quality of the construction and the choosing of the leaves that go into each one. How do you instill that on now 400 people?
Well, the bigger you get, the more tobacco you're going to have. When you're small, yes, it's easy to bob and weave and whatever. But the thing with being a smaller factory, you don't have access to a lot of tobacco, okay? You don't have a lot of money to buy 3 years worth of tobacco. So you'll go into the distributor and you say, hey, I need a roll of a batch right now. So you're buying like 5 bales, 2 bales at a time, You do the production. You get another order. You got to do it. You got to go back to that supplier, and you hoping
They have the same.
They have the same. It's same thing from the same crop.
Right.
Oh, I don't. Now we got 2012 crop. Oh, so what happened in 2011? Oh, we're out. Who bought it? General. Oh, okay. All right, let me try 2012 crop. Maybe not. Maybe it's stronger. Maybe it's lighter. Now you got to play around with that. And that's what happens when you're small. And that's one thing you got small batch. That whole small batch phase came out. Like the concept came out because of these small runs. That's great when it's a small run, because everything is going to taste the same. But when you're going to do it again, and if you don't have access to the same harvest, you know, not the same tobacco, the same harvest, year to year changes. You know, maybe it could have rained more, it could have rained less. You know, something could have happened. You don't know. You know, you forgot to put enough fertilizer. You don't know what things change with tobacco. You know, you didn't process it the same way. You forgot to put enough water. You didn't do the polones high enough. There's so many different things. Yeah. Algorithms, the situation's gonna change the tobacco a little bit. That if you don't have a large amount of inventory, you cannot truly give an ongoing, consistent product all the time. So,
well, I think it's Steve Saka that say every cigar has a limited run, because eventually you run out of that crop or that harvest.
Exactly.
Right.
Every cigar. So you have to try to have enough tobacco to last you. You know, if it's certain blend that you're doing, you want to make sure that that tobacco will last you at least 3 years. You know, because as you going through a crop, people will at least adjust to whatever modification as it goes.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so if
you can buy more of that same crop,
and you blend it in, so nobody really notice. Okay, this year is.
I've always wondered that, like, if people with really good palates could tell that this year's XYZ cigar is a little different than the one from 3 years ago.
In production?
Yeah.
Well, that's what you have to look at box dating. I mean, a lot of companies box date their cigars. I do. Yeah, I stamp every box I have, so people.
Which, as consumers, we love that.
You know when the box was filled.
Yeah.
You know, and if there's an issue, you can go back to the factory, and then we can go back to we can see when we rolled that cigar. And then you can go back when that tobacco was, you know, when they pulled that tobacco from our warehouse, and when that tobacco was grown, when was that tobacco processed, all that stuff. You go back to the chain. Yes, almost every cigar could be a small batch, but the more tobacco inventory you have, the easier it is to have consistency.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
So.
Yeah, because variants are much smaller at that point, at scale. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
In that sense, the variance is a lot less. But when you're doing smaller runs and you don't have a large amount of tobacco, there's a larger chance there's more inconsistency. So what you have to try to do is, it's sad to say, and it's a lot of money. And you like Padron. Padron has millions of dollars just sitting there. General Cigar has millions of dollars. I mean, freaking millions and millions of dollars of tobacco just sitting there. You know, Davidoff, millions and millions of tobacco just sitting there. You know, have you ever heard that they have inconsistency problems? You know, Macanudo always stays the same.
Yep.
You know, you know, you taste Macanudo now, you taste Macanudo 20 years ago, 15 years ago, it tastes the same. You know, so. You know.
That's interesting. So tell me about the cigar that we're smoking now.
Well, there's some tobacco, a small batch tobacco that I found. No, I'm just kidding.
Back in the corner.
Back in the corner. It was like actually 2 bales that I put together, you know.
But that doesn't mean it's a bad cigar. It just means you're not going to be able to produce that cigar consistently.
No, only 6 boxes. No, I'm just kidding.
Five
boxes.
I'm honored. You're smoking one. This is great. I'm one of the lucky 50 people that are going to smoke it.
Actually, you know, we're selling it one by one. That cigar is actually a line. The name is called Trovador, and I told you that was.
I'm glad you pronounced it first, because I wouldn't even come close to saying it like that.
El Trovador, and there's a club in California called the Trovador. That's what it means. So it's a musician. It's a traveling musician from the whatever, the 1600s, 1400s. It was actually 1400s, and it was like that guy with that funky little guitar, and he went from town to town,
Like a ukulele.
like a little ukulele
Yeah.
looking, medieval type of looking guitar, the ones that you see in the movies. And one day I was looking around, and I saw the name before, and I didn't really think about it, and I needed to find something that was related to my musical background a little bit. I didn't want to go so out there where I'm gonna have like all crazy musical stuff or like a piano or anything like that. I just wanted to have something that I could say is Abe Flores, something musica, something. I was looking for something. So one day when I went right after Pro Cigars, when they inducted me to Pro Cigar last year. We went to the try to get into the Habanos Festival, and I'll tell you the story about that one. We didn't get in. Me and Rob, my national sales manager, we went to Cuba, and then we went to La Vieja Habana, and we just started walking around, and you see these guys with all these books in the sidewalks with lithograms and old bands and all Cuban, artifacts and old Cuban labels and all that stuff. And I walked around and I saw it again. Oh, El Trovador. And I saw it, and it was like this guy serenading this damsel, and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, that's nice. I was like, El Trovador. And I was like, huh. And I called Frank ahead, and I was like, go see if we can finalize that trademark with Trovador. And like it kind of reminded me to do it. And I started looking around on the artwork, what to do, and the old band had, again, the guy, and then, but the box label was like this very brown, simple band. It said Trovador or whatever. And I looked at line all over the place, and then in Jamaica had more like that circle, like that. And a lot of the Cuban bands, it was either circle or straight line. Even Ramon Juliet, if you look around, Romeo Julieta, you'll see like it's a circular band, like like a lot of Cuban bands.
It's kind of Monte Cristo-ish.
Yeah. But even Romeo Julieta, you'll find
round. Yeah.
St. Louis Ray, you'll find around. Same like that. So I saw the Trovador. It was like that. It's like And like, okay, so I grabbed the artwork, and it was like, El Trovador, Habana, or El Trovador, it was Jamaica. And I go, well, I don't want to put I'll put Abe Flores, El Trovador. And I wanted to have something that was classical tasting, not overpowering, all Nicaraguan. And the filler, it's all Nicaraguan. The Condega in Jalapa, and the binders from Jalapa, and with a beautiful, rosado Ecuadorian wrapper. And I wanted something that was different from the Serie Privada that I have, and more of a price. Like, that's the reason, if you look at the box, it's just a simple, natural box.
Yeah, it's very like Cuban-esque.
Yeah, simple natural box.
Yeah.
I wanted to limit the look, not spend so much money on the packaging, not spend so much money on the band. Just let the cigar speak for itself.
I love the pepper.
Yeah,
it's a very excellent presentation of pepper.
Thank you.
Because to me, like, there are some cigars that just go in either direction. Like, either there's not enough or it's too much. Like, I find that right balance of pepper for my palate is tricky, and this one definitely does that. And I love the size. You probably have more than one size, but the Petit Bellicoso, love. Petit Robusto and Petit Bellicoso. I wish people did more of them. I actually like your sizes that you produce, because you tend to produce those shorter Bellicosos and the shorter. Is there a reason for that? Is that just like it's more of a Cuban size than it is non-Cuban size? Is that?
Yes, they're more. The thing is, a lot of folks. I tend to go towards more like the Cuban sizes more than anything for personal.
Yeah.
For personal preferences, I to be honest, I rarely smoke a 6x60.
Yeah.
Rarely, ever. I think the last one was like a year ago, to be honest with you. I left it, My sizes are usually, 46, 50, 52, and that's the most I'll do. I'll do maybe 54. I don't like really long cigars. I like cigars that are 5'5".
The shorter one, yeah.
5.
Yeah. And this is a 4.5 by 52.
Yeah, 4.5 by 52. Petit bellicoso, and I always wanted to do a semi-box press bellicoso, but not so long, you know. And
no, I like that size and shape because it does have a slight box press.
It's a slightly box pressed.
Does that mean you slightly underfill it too when you box press it? You have to, right? And I find you get a better draw with the box press and the bellicoso. Like, I just think it's a great combination.
You can't do a regular round cigar
in box press. It's just going to be plugged, right?
You can't. It's going to be just plugged. You have to underfill a little bit because when you press it down to it, it needs to have room for the wrapper to expand a little bit. Do its thing. If it's fully pressed and a full round cigar and you press on it, it's just either it's going to be plugged or it's going to pop. You know, you're going to have the wrapper break.
Right.
You know, so the cigar itself, it's I picked even the sizes petit bellicoso, Corona Gorda, you know, for those guys because I haven't had a Corona Gorda in a long time. I haven't made a Corona Gorda.
It's a great size too. Yeah.
In a very long time. And then 2 standard sizes, Robusto and Gran Toro. So 54 by 6 and 52 by 5. So two sizes are really sizes that I like. And 2 sizes that are standard. Yeah. They don't want to do 6 by 60. They don't want to do anything crazy big. Just simple. You know, keep it simple.
You think we're on the downward swing of that big ring gauge?
To be honest with you, I have a size that I do. It's called a half Corona. And
I love that.
Yeah,
that's the small. I like those a lot.
The ones in the tins.
The
those
are awesome.
That's we sell tons of that. People love it. And first time I did it, so a retailer was like, nobody's gonna buy that. I was like, why? He's like, oh, nobody's gonna give $5 for that little cigar if they can go and buy a small one for a lot cheaper. I was like, well, that's a premium cigar. You know, it's just in a smaller size. The packaging is quality. It has cedar. It has, you know, the tobaccos are sorted. The cigar is aged. I mean, people are gonna pay for quality. You know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people associate that smaller size with a cigarillo or like a mixed Cuban sandwich kind of cigar. They'll find the smaller.
Yeah.
But if you get a premium cigar, it should be a small cigar that smokes like a bigger cigar, right? And those are the smaller cigars I gravitate to. And I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but it's a small cigar that smokes like a regular size cigar, right?
It's not a 15-minute smoke.
Yeah, exactly.
It's definitely a half-hour smoke.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't burn too hot.
No, it burns slow. It takes about half an hour to smoke it. And, you know, if it was a little short filler thing, you smoke it like a cigarette. You burn in 2 seconds. You know, this is not the same type of thing. And we do very well with that cigar. We have another cigar that I don't do a lot of it. It's called Fundadores. And that's a small batch Fundador, and it's a 38 by 6. You know, so it's not a 7-inch Lancero standard. It's a little bit shorter, but
there's a Por Larrañaga is a 6 by 30. Is that a 6 by 38?
The same thing.
Yeah.
So I tend to.
That's a really cool size, and there's not many that are in the market today, especially in the U.S.
Yes,
because they're mostly done for Europe.
Everything's done for Europe. So a lot of my inspiration comes from when I travel. So when I go to Germany, when I go to Spain, when I go to a lot of, you know, I get to see stuff that Cuba sends out. And that we don't see in the United States. So, and I see sizes. I'm like, damn, that's a nice size. Like the show this year, we had the sampler that I give out. I call them fat Coronas, and it was it's a 56 by 4 1/4. You know, and I would never think about doing a 4 1/4 by 56. Yeah, it's like, and I don't like cigars that big. And then again, I was in Cuba. And I see this Trinidad, and I was like, "Damn, look at that little fatty," you know. And I looked at it, and I pulled it out, and I put it in my hand. I was like, and it's not too long, you know. It's 4 1/4, so it's like I can smoke it.
But it's not a 60 or a 70 by 4.
It's not 7 long. It's not long, and it smoked really good. And I like the way it felt. And I'm like, shoot, I'm gonna, you know. And that's where I got my inspiration for that size. So yes, a lot of my ideas come from traditional Cuban companies.
And I think a lot of the larger ring gauges in that 56 or 58 is a sweet spot. And I mean, I think we've seen a lot better 60 ring stuff. I don't smoke a lot of stuff over 60 ring.
Yeah,
But the 60 rings that I've smoked recently have gotten better. So go back and try some.
Yeah.
Because there's some better ones on. But the ones that really stand out are in that 56 or 58, to still stay large ring gauge.
Yeah,
So,
well, I know it's gotten better, and we make a great. I mean, trust me, on an 1878, the 6x60, we sell tons of that. You know, people smoke either Robusto, Toro, and 6x60. 6x60 is still a huge selling size. You know, it just when it first came out, nobody was making good ones. Now everybody's gotten better. You know, at it. It was a size that nobody really, really thought of, and eventually you get better at it. Now the product has the standards that you can smoke. That's not my vitola.
Right.
My vitola is I like, and maybe a lot of it is because I'm in the factory. I'm walking around a lot, and it really bothers me to grab a big cigar, and I don't like to be smoking a big cigar and then I'm like lighting it all the time, and then I let it down, and I just like stuff that's 4 inches long, because as I'm smoking it, I don't have to light it as much.
Right.
Right, but Abe, with the AFR 75, you did go bigger ring gauges with that, and to me, that's a cigar that seemed like it was tailor-made for the bigger ring gauges.
Well, I'll tell you a story about that. I don't know if you remember Taven. You know Taven?
Oh, I remember Taven.
Okay, so Taven one day, we were down in. I was in Charlotte, and I was going around, and then he goes to me. He's like, and that's when the 6x60s and the bigger ring gauges, came out, and before 70s. And he goes to me and goes, we got Abe. You need to come out with nobody's doing a really good big ring gauge, and you gotta come up with something, but something sounds like a gun, And I'm going, like AR or something, and I'm going, and I was like, what about AFR? He goes, oh yeah, but it needs to have a number, and I go, what, AFR 75? And he goes, yeah, that sounds like a machine gun. It's like, yeah. So the one thing I did do, we were gonna name every size like different guns, and then we were going back and forth, and then I was like, well, I didn't really like that aspect.
Could be polarizing.
Yeah, it could
Although
be.
the market, the typical cigar smoker, probably okay.
Yeah, they would have been probably okay with it, and I don't know. I just started. It took me a while to come up with the band and the concept, and every band that you see for PDR, I designed. Nobody has ever designed anything for.
Wow.
Me.
There's some great
cool.
bands, Abe. Some great looking bands.
Thank you very much. Every band, every box has been designed by me.
That's awesome.
And the cigar has been blended by me.
So you still obviously like doing the graphics design stuff.
I don't let nobody else. That's one thing I don't let. You were talking about. We were talking about. My computer's down. You call a tech guy. You can fix it. That's one thing that I still don't. I can't let that go. The creative aspect. That's like my baby. Like I can't pay somebody to do it if I know how to do it. It's that's one thing. It's so. Every band that you've seen that I've launched, even this Trovador. They're just different concepts that I have that are related, and or whenever I just start designing something, and I store it away, I will design something and I won't put their name on it. It's just, I'll design something.
Yeah.
And I'll take, whatever writing, that comes later. Whatever mock-ups I do, and I put it aside, until one day it was like, I'm looking for it. And one day I was looking through it, and I saw this straight band that I did, and I was like, huh. And then, if you see the AFR, it has these 3 leaves. And if you look at my inserts, it says Dominicanos in the bottom. It says my story, Abe Flores and Juan Rodriguez and Luis Rodriguez. We started, 12 years ago, blah, blah, blah. And then the bottom says Dominicanos. And it has these 3 leaves. And 3 leaves is really me, Juan, and Luis, So all 3 of us, it has these 3 leaves. So I popped the 3 leaves in the middle. And the AFR, it means Abe Flores Rosario. So I just want every leaf to represent, 3 different things. And then it's just like, well, I don't know if I want to call it by that, but I wanted to call it just more like Cuban names, so that's the reason I have Sublime, El Mundo, Inmenso, Catador. Catador is it's a new size, so it's a 4x54. So Catador it means like sommelier, like somebody who appreciates the good things in life, somebody who really enjoys the fine things, you know. So AFR started really big sizes, and I wanted something that not as big, you know. And we launched that this year for AFR.
Nice. That's awesome.
And you also came out with a new Claro version, because this is the San Andreas Maduro I'm smoking, but you have a Claro version now that just came out.
The Claro is, again, FDA kind of forced me to come out with certain things that you know, I have ideas that I was going to launch 2-3 years down the road, and you know, when we had to launch, you know, when the FDA regulation, the ruling came out, we had it until August 8th, and I go, okay, do I do it? I was going to launch only a Trovador, and then the jars for CVR, and then everything else we had to rush. It didn't rush, but like we had to like move our stuff quicker, try to get.
You had to get it to market.
Get it to market quicker. Right. So the AFR Claro, when we buy San Andres, and if you know enough about tobacco plants, there's different primings. There's different cuts on a plant. So you got the lower primings are the secos, bolado, mid ones are bisos, and the top ones are ligeros and corona. Centro Largo, Centro Fino, you start going up. So as you go lower on the primings, I was getting a lot of, I was rejected. It's not so pretty, but the flavor is really good, and I used it for different type of cigars, for filler or for binder.
So usually binder or filler are the lower primings.
I was using that for binder and filler, but I was getting really nice. And I wasn't using. I didn't know what to do with it. And I was getting this like really nice flavor profile, this really nice wrapper on a lower priming, but it wasn't dark. It was in a dark oscuro San Andres. And then one day I slapped it on the AFR, and I loved the way it tastes. And I go, well, this is going to be my Claro. And I had it to launch next year.
Yeah.
And we got it out.
Now it's launching now.
That is what came out now. So.
And by the way, I've smoked it. There's nothing rushed about that cigar.
No,
it is fantastic.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah. So folks, I think are really going to enjoy it.
No, the cigar itself is aged enough. Because I usually that was something, again, we're going to launch next year, but a lot of stuff, I already start making some. I will do small runs, like 20,000 cigars, and I just let it sit, you know, let it sit until I get the right, you know, idea for it, and then get it out. So,
Will, more questions for Abe? Sorry, I know I've been hogging a lot of the...
No, that's good. This is all good. So, Abe, the cigar that I really just knocked it out of the park for me was the Connecticut Broadleaf Reserve. Now, you came out with an extension of that called the Azul. Is that kind of a similar type of thing you did with the wrapper on that?
Yeah, that's sort of the same thing. It's the CVR, the Connecticut Valley Reserve Broadleaf. We came out last year with the 15-count box, limited run, about 250 boxes, 300 boxes. And then we came out again this year. I was planning on a jar, on these jars. And the Azul was something I was going to launch again. I already had it planned, actually, for the Azul to come out. The way it comes out is you first get a...
Was Azul the demon in Ghostbusters?
I think it was like Azula or something like that.
It was pretty close to that.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And there's a new Ghostbusters movie coming out, so it could be pretty timely.
Good marketing. So, no, the Azul, I was going to... The problem is I didn't want to call it Broadleaf Rosado, because what it is really is a rosado color. It's like a dark red.
To Rosado, speaking to is a color.
Yes,
determining. Yeah,
broadleaf
is the plant, the leaf, and seed.
And then the color itself was red. So the AFR Maduro, CVR Maduro is red. And I'm like, well, I can't call this one Broadleaf Rosado, you know. And the band is blue. And then one day Hochi goes, just call it Azul. when we were smoking, Hochi Blanco was sitting with me, and I was like, I don't know what to call this
He
thing.
must have just watched Ghostbusters.
He must have just. He's like, and I go, Azul. I don't think gringos. Sorry, I don't think Americans will say, can say Azul that well, And I was like.
We can't pronounce any of the cigar names, so it doesn't really.
Part of the thing is like I have to really think, how they're gonna pronounce it, because if they can't pronounce it,
right,
they may not buy it.
We're gonna call it like the asshole cigars. It's bad. It's bad.
It's true, So he goes, just call it Azul, and I was like, you think they're gonna understand Azul? It's like, yeah, they're like Azul.
What does Azul mean?
Blue.
I knew that. I was just for our listeners' benefit asking that question.
So, I just call it broadleaf Azul, and then that's it. I mean, I think it sounds good. I mean, other than just broadleaf Claro, I don't think Claro is didn't fit.
It's kind of an over-subscribed term. They just kind of throw it around.
Yeah,
because it's something that us gringos can pronounce.
yes. What? That's how we came up with the Azul. So.
We first started pronouncing años. It was anos, which has a totally different meaning apparently. And apparently you don't want to call your cigar anos because no one that knows what that means is going to smoke it.
That's actually, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff like with the people. Like it's Spanish. It just doesn't sound that right in English. Negro.
Yeah, no, that's
you know what negro means.
Yeah,
black. But if you write negro out, I don't want to say how you pronounce it in English, but it's just not PC.
It's not cool.
Yeah.
Well, it goes the other way too.
Yeah.
When the U.S. companies will market a product, in another country. That was like lesson one in business school, right? In international business.
That's what I'm saying. In Spain you could do it, or in any Latin country,
right?
You put negro, instead of that, because that's what it means, black. But if you sell it, if you leave negro the way it's written out and you put it in the United States, it's like, no,
not gonna fly.
You'll see all the black people. You go, oh, what is this?
Right, you get a lot of hate mail.
Yeah. And I'm like, my people, we're Caribbean. What are you gonna do? But I'm not saying I came up with a cigar like that. I'm just saying I've seen some ideas going around from
we've seen a lot of names and tried to pronounce a lot of names, mostly incorrectly. So, Will, more questions for Abe?
Abe, the other thing that you've really done over the past few years since you've had the factory is you've become like this destination for a lot of brands that now seek you out to make some of these cigars. I mean, ones that come to mind are, La Polina. I know you Gurkha, where you did the Gurkha 125, right?
I did the Gurkha 125. Got number 9 cigar of the year.
Yeah.
Did very well.
Then you followed up the following year. You got a number 10 with the Abe Flores Serie Privada.
Yes. Serie Privada helped me. It was Serie Privada was the first cigar with just my name on it. And to be honest, it was just a cigar that it was my baby. It was something that, Serie Privada, my private series, my private stock. I didn't care if I sold 200 boxes or 50 boxes or whatever. It's just,
yes, you did.
Shut up.
You can't look me in the eye and say
I do. I mean, for real. I'm just letting you know.
You're happier that you sold more boxes.
Yeah, you gotta be happy. But the thing is, you get into. It was something that was special to me that I wanted to. If it took time for people to like it, I was okay with it. Okay. And I was happy that a couple years later, I got a high rating on it, and I got, number 10 cigar of the year. And I was totally surprised that day when that came out. Trust me. When that email came out and they sent that, number 10, the first thing they put number 10, the first email they blast, and I got number 10. I was like, you kidding me? I was like, wow. And I was talking with Ernie Carrillo that day. And I was like, man, got number 10, brother. He's like, yeah, and he was like, yeah, maybe I get like number 15 or something like that. I was like, yeah, no, you okay at least top 5? You know, you got number 2.
Yeah.
It's like I told you, you know. So, and then Carlito got a big one too by rating, and I congratulated him for that. So, I mean, I thank them a lot because these guys pretty much opened the door to me, and I learned a lot from these guys, and I think they honored me by bringing me into Pro Cigar. And honoring me to become a member. I'm honored to be a member of Pro Cigars.
So congratulations on that.
That's awesome. Yes, well deserved.
You're the youngest and fastest to be inducted, correct?
There's a younger person like there's Nika. She's younger than me, but I think I'm the last one. So that has gone in a short amount of time. So. And
they still consider us young? That's good, because we're probably around the same age.
I think you guys are very close in age,
actually. They're probably the exact same age.
Yeah.
I haven't quite reached the 40 mark yet.
Well, I am 40.
You are. I'm 39, so yeah, there you go.
Yes. Trust me.
So we're still young, Will, is what we're saying.
Yeah. Well, trust me, like last year I had like very little gray hair. And after I became 40, it's like white hair coming out,
Just wait.
Yeah, I'm like, shit.
I got 50 next year, so.
Yeah, I'm getting old.
I had to shave my beard. It was way too gray.
Yeah, well. Yeah, I mean, I had a friend of mine who's like, when you hit 40, the warranty goes out. I was like, oh. I'm like, shit, my legs hurt now, and my everything
just
hurts.
From sitting. Sitting is like the worst thing because being in computers, we sit. There's a lot of sitting, and then I come to just cigars, and we sit down and have cigars. I'm like, way too much sitting.
No, it's bad. You don't have the same stamina as before. But we get by. So. And within these guys, they look at me as a younger guy, and right. I feel old. Not too old, but
some days you feel older than others.
Yeah,
I hear you there. I hear you.
But I love each one of them. From Lido, from Hoji, from Hanky Calendar, it was great. Manolo Quesada, everybody they're all my mentors in the industry.
Do you know Manuel Inoa?
Manuel, yeah, I was with him last night.
Oh, I was going to say, because he's here.
Yeah.
I was just reminding me, speaking of all those people, I was thinking of Manuel. He's going to be next door. I got to go say hi.
Yes, go over there real quick.
We're going to go say hi after this.
Like, hey!
I think we hung out last night.
Yeah, I think. I think I know you. Yeah, you took my Johnny Walker.
Oh, that's funny. So it's interesting. Usually we conclude the interviews and we ask like the blenders or representatives of the company, hey, like what you got coming out next? Like with FDA, we pretty much like, you've already blown your wad and that's it.
Well,
and no one knows what the future is going to be. So it's kind of pointless for me to go down that line of questioning because no one really knows what we're going to be able to do or not be able to do or whatever.
Well, the thing is, the bottom line is people think that no new products will be able to come. Yes, to a certain degree. They haven't stopped importation of anything new. They just, the registration now, you have to submit more documentation when you bring in products to the United States. We still have, before they really fully regulate whatever comes in the United States, would you still, if I wanted to come up with a small batch for Stogie Geeks next week, I could do that, or for whoever, you could still import that stuff in. It's just, do you want to get it legit in a couple of years and pay $100, whatever the fee is going to be?
Oh, I see.
For a new
just
product.
kind of deferring your fees at that point. Yeah.
Whatever
to an unknown amount.
Yeah. Well, it's not that. Is that you're going to be paying the user fees and all that stuff. Per cigar and all that stuff is going to be charged. But if you want it to be compliant, you're going to have to pay a certain amount of money and pay lab testing and all that. So you can have FDA approved and all that stuff in every package and every product you have. We don't know what's going to happen.
If they're going to require that or not.
If they're going to require that or not. There's so many things out there that we don't know what's going to happen. I feel positive that, I think we've moved enough and we made enough of a noise that, I think they're going to let they're gonna modify some things, because it's a Tria won the lawsuit the other day, and that helped a lot, And so a lot of companies now are like, oh God,
I really want to see it moving towards more like kind of like a rubber stamp approval process, and certainly all of the things that I've read and talked about with people lend itself to that. Although the FDA, it's scary to have an opponent like that that's so unpredictable, right? I mean, the martial arts or boxing, like an unpredictable opponent is dangerous, right? Because you don't know what you don't know what's going to come next. But I hope it moves to that kind of rubber stamping process where, there's some things we have to do, but it's not slowing anyone down in an immense way.
People are still going to buy cigars. People are still going to smoke.
Yeah.
People still want to, we're still going to, manufacturers are still going to be making, still going to be making cigars until they force me to close my doors, So until that happens, we just business as usual.
Right.
You got to tell consumers got to just support the manufacturers, support the brands they like, to make sure they're still here 5 years or 10 years down the road.
Right. Yeah, the fight's kind of just begun.
The fight just started.
Yeah.
Trust me, we're gonna.
We should have maybe started a little sooner, but it's a long road. It's a long road.
And that's probably another interview. If you want to go into my thoughts with that. If you got 4 hours, we can do that.
I do have 5 more questions for you.
Okay.
And these are just ridiculous questions just to kind of set the stage.
Okay.
So 3 words to describe yourself.
3 words to describe myself. OCD. I was kidding.
Is that 1 or 3?
No, that's 3 words.
That's 3 words.
OCD.
Yeah, obsessive compulsive disorder.
That's kidding. I think I'm, I'm detailed, I'm passionate, and I'm driven.
If you were a serial killer, what would be your weapon of choice?
I think my weapon of choice would be a machete.
If you were to write a book about yourself, what would the title be? In English, please. I don't.
How do you think I feel? I'm driving with him this week. I'm like, is he talking about
Does he give directions to you in Spanish?
It's tough, man. It's like, the spell check on the iPhone, I have like 3 languages. I have Spanish, French, and English going. So you had that little button, you switch between all 3.
And autocorrect works just as equally. It's horrible on all 3. Yeah.
So you're typing between. It's like, oh, why is it changing? Just saying, I'm saying something in Spanish and it starts saying correcting it in English, and then same thing. I send something to a customer. And he responds like, I do not read Spanish. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm sorry,
Yeah. Try putting all the acronyms in computer security or even cigars in the phone. It's terrible.
It's terrible.
I'm like, nope, I didn't mean that. That's not really a body part. Never mind. So, where were we?
The book.
A book about yourself. Name the book about yourself.
I don't know. It's God. I don't know. I got to think about it, to be honest with you. It's so many things. I mean,
Oh God, I got to think about it. It's a pretty good title.
No, it's a good one. I got to think about that because it's all the other ones, like, I'm driven, I'm passionate, all that stuff. If I was going to write a book about myself, it would be,
I'm surprised you haven't figured out.
Being
a computer person,
never thought about.
You combine the answers from question 1 and 2 to make up 3. So you're a passionate, driven, machete serial killer.
Yes, that's
what
the
secret. That's the cheat code.
Yes, that is the cheat code.
Yeah.
Yes, that is my code.
It's like the Konami code, but different. In the popular game of Ask Grabby Grabby, do you prefer to go first or second? This is easy because it's multiple choice, and there's only an A and a B. It's either first or second.
Ask Grabby Grabby.
Ask Grabby Grabby.
So how do you play that game?
It's popular in Europe.
Dominican.
Well, it's popular in Europe, which is probably why you haven't heard of it.
So will you grab ass?
It could be part of it, yes.
Who goes first grabs the ass, right?
It depends if you're playing American rules or European rules.
in Thailand, it's a whole different.
It's a
subject.
whole different. Yeah,
or
yeah.
you're the person who's getting ass grabbed.
Just first or second is what we're looking for here.
First.
There you go. Abe, choose 2 celebrities to be your parents.
2 celebrities to be my parents. God, American or international?
It doesn't even matter. They can be fictional, non-fictional, alive, dead.
Catherine Zeta-Jones for my mother, and musician?
Yeah, it's your choice. This is your fantasy, Abe. So
Sting.
there you go.
Well,
There you
that's
go.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Sting.
Not that we don't rate you on the questions. There's no
Okay.
right or wrong answer.
Yeah. Sting probably would be like my father if I could.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Abe, thank you very much for appearing on the
Thank you
Stogie
very
Geeks
much
show.
for having me.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks for the support as well. We really appreciate that
Yes,
as well.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, you guys.
We're going to go harass Manuel now. Thanks, everyone. We'll be right back.
And that's a wrap for episode 200 of Stogie Geeks. Thank you to our audience for supporting us. And we'll be back next week with episode 201. And we'll be bringing in Phil Zengi for that. So join us next week, Monday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That will be September 19th for the Phil Zengi Show. Also, be sure to check out Cigar Coop, www.cigar-coop.com for news and reviews. And, of course, Stogie Geeks Shorts at StogieShorts.tv and Stogie Geeks News at StogieNews.tv. We'll see you all next week. Thank you very much, everyone. See you then.